Let's have a frank discussion about black conservatives versus conservative black people. Hey, all gravity, any day above ground live it. So you already know what to do. Share, like, and subscribe. That's right. Share, like, and subscribe because I'm not like other YouTubers. I'm different. I know you guys are groaning what you see on the screen. There's a reason why I put those people up there. Just indulge me for a few minutes. These are some of the most prolific black conservative voices, past and present. And I say past and present because either some of them left and went low key or they have passed away. And the reason why I put them up here is to illustrate the fact that you see these 9 to 10 faces, especially the one in the middle, Thomas Sowell. And if you have been a subscriber or someone who's passed through when I talked about Thomas Sowell, you have heard me on more than one occasion call him a government operative. And there was a reason for that, because for years we've always heard people say, y'all need to read Thomas Sowell. I don't understand why the black community doesn't read about Thomas Sowell. Why is Thomas Sowell not in the same era as Martin Luther King and all that? There's a reason why. For those who don't understand why the black community as a whole reveres people like Thomas Sowell or Walter Williams or Larry Elder or Candace Owens or Sheriff David Clark, it's because these folk are government creations. Oh, I know. Y'all gonna hit that dislike button. That's fine. That's your prerogative. Free speech and all that. Freedom of expression. Yes. Your lawyer, Larry Elder, is a government creation. Candace Owens, Miss Broken Clock, she's a government creation. Walter Williams, government creation. What do all these people outside maybe Candace Owens have in common, and Sage Steele? They all claim that they're black Republicans, which again, there's nothing wrong with being a black Republican. Nothing. But the black conservative is a government created entity. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Oh, don't worry. I know. Y'all think I'm just saying this because you probably think I'm a liberal or something. Nah. The black conservative is meant to sow discourse in the black community on behalf of the white conservative community. Let's just call it what it is. And it was never more evident than what I saw bandied about when it came to this Marcelus Williams execution. Now, my crowd that was there in my live stream when I said I was going to do this, understand where I'm going with this. But for those who don't know, I got into it with a black conservative, not a conservative black person, on Marcelus Williams. You know, it's one of these TV, YouTube, social media conservatives. You know, they just came out of nowhere the last decade and they think that they're authority on things. But when it comes to basic interpretation of the law, all of a sudden, black people don't get the same grace that other groups should get. Now, for those who don't understand what the Marcelus Williams case is, I also did a live stream on that. I'll put it up in the right hand corner. That man was unceremoniously executed, even though the state's prosecutor in Missouri, because this happened in Missouri, said that they found evidence that may prove that he is innocent. And even with that plea, plus the plea of the victim's family saying, okay, you know what? Let him just do life without the possibility of parole, which would still give him an opportunity to fight his case. They still executed that man. So I'm now going to show you the interaction I had with this black conservative, and you will then start to understand what I'm going to say after that. Let's head to real time. All right, so you see who I got into it with. I got into it with Anthony Brian Logan, ABL, if you understand and you content create or you are frequenter of this channel or New Black Media. You've heard this name before. Now, he one of them black conservatives I at least have a little bit of respect for, because at least he'll push back when somebody's being overtly anti-black. But most times he's going to cater to them. And for those who don't understand what I mean, earlier this year, he tried to leave his station of just constantly taking shots at black people for his mostly white audience, and tried to play pro-black. And he was right on the cusp of 1 million when he was doing that. And then all of a sudden they started disliking what he was doing. So he had to make like 3 or 4 videos just to get over the 1 million and to get back on their good graces. But that's another subject for another day. The reason why I'm putting this up is to highlight the hypocrisy of the black conservative. He put up this post, which you can pause the video in and go read, about Marcelus Williams. Now, he thinks that folk on TikTok and social media were up in arms because they were going to kill a guilty man. And the way he wrote it, if you didn't hear about this story, you would think that's what people like myself and others were doing. No. We actually read something that you conservatives don't do. We actually research this, something that you conservatives won't do, which is kind of highly hilarious because he's going in on people on TikTok, even though people on TikTok have been known to use their platforms to show receipts. But again, another subject for another day. We were up in arms because the state prosecutor of Missouri, like I mentioned before, found evidence that says that, you know what, there may be some truth to him being innocent. Let's go explore it. That's why people were up in arms. That's why people went to the governor's office with signed petitions trying to stay his execution. But the governor and the SCOTUS didn't want to hear it. Okay, cool. Blessings to that man and his family. But posts like this is why people don't trust black conservatives. And this is why when they get broken in real time, nobody feels bad for them because they have no integrity. There's no reason why you should have wrote this post. And again, I got into it with it. So if you want, I'll put about 10 seconds right here. You could pause it. You can go read what I said to this man. Okay, did you get it? Cool. Okay. He knows better. This is why when they bring up black conservatives, what do they tell you? Oh, they just tell the truth. You mean your truth, the truth that you want to hear, not the truth. This is a post I would expect from Candace Owens or Brandon Tatum or Cartier family or one of these other fake ass conservatives who just found conservatism because they found the money in it a decade ago. If you're a true conservative, which I saw, but again, they don't research, a lot of conservatives were pissed off about this as well because they thought the government was overreaching. Real Republicans were pissed off at this. Because if you're running around talking about due process and the J6ers need to have their day in court and need to prove their innocence and everybody should have a fair and equal opportunity under the law to prove their innocence, you can't look at this case and hear that there may be a shred of proof that he didn't do this and just completely ignore it. But we know why they ignored it. And yes, I'm going to bring race into it since black conservatives like to lie and say that they don't see race, but then they saw this and saw race. Look how you could even feel the hatred in this post. Yeah, it's because he was black. Because if this was a white man, y'all would not have had that problem. There would have been no hate. You would have said that the Biden administration, command me, and all the Democrats, all they want to do is take out folk. Just like y'all did with the January 6th people. But you ain't got to believe me. I'll get somebody that's above me to tell you the truth about these black conservatives. Let's get out of real time. All right. So for those who don't know who's on the screen right now, that's Clarence Paige. Now, respectfully, I barely heard about this man years ago. But shout out to Black Patriot on X, Patriarch on X, I'm sorry. Black Patriarch on X. I saw this video going down my timeline. I don't follow this person. It just popped up. I want you to listen to what Mr. Page is going to say about the black conservatives, especially Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams in them. And you tell me if what I've been saying here, this man already figured out 30 years ago.
Mr. Page, would you like to start?
First of all, I'll plug my book coming out in February, which has a whole chapter on what I call black conservatives versus conservative blacks, because it seems these are two different creatures. Black conservatives are something that was invented in the Reagan White House basement in the 1980s and was discovered by the media when Clarence Thomas was nominated, and thus projected out to the public as something brand new that had never existed before. Conservative blacks are people who are indigenous to the black community, always have been from the time of slavery and colonial days. African Americans have always, like other people, had our conservative and our liberal voices. As has been said on the panel here, the church is nothing new to us. We don't need Ronald Reagan to teach us about family values or about self-help. Heaven knows we wouldn't survive the Middle Passage if we didn't know about self-help. We have, who made, as Bob Whitson said on our program, who made Ida B. Wells shoes? Who made Frederick Douglass suits? We know we have always had black capitalism thriving within the black community. We have lost touch with some of the basic values that have kept us going. Obviously, black folks have some real tough conservative views, but at the same time, the Republican Party is moving away from us, not toward us. The outreach conservatives like Jack Kemp and Bill Bennett, they aren't running for president. And what we're seeing is that those conservative values in the black community have almost nowhere to go. Bill Clinton cleverly has reached out to them. He goes to black churches and talks to folks about self-help and about doing something to save black youths. But the problem with Ken Hamlin, Thomas Sowell, Shelby Steele, a number of other so-called black conservatives, and while I agree with a number of their views, nevertheless, they have set themselves outside the black mainstream. That is their choice. They put themselves outside that mainstream, which puts them outside what I would call the conservative black mainstream.
Well, I guess our point has been proven here. It's not us that did it. It was their own choice. You don't believe me? Okay. Go listen to Larry Elder's show back in the 90s and the 2000s. He divorced himself away from the black community because we scratched our head at his takes. Candace Owens is the same thing. She sat there, had her blackest week ever, and yeah, she swayed a few people, but the mainstream didn't take hold to it because we knew what it was, just like her whole career. It's a grift. It's just a way to make some money. There's no integrity behind it. See, she even admitted it, family. We showed the tweet here. She put the tweet. The tweet went around the world. She was encouraged by the Daily Wire to denigrate black people. Sheriff David Clark sat on Fox News every other week taking shots at black people. But you want us to sit up here and laud these people because they have black skin? That's not very conservative now, is it? Now, look, I'm not up here trying to cape for real conservatives. I'm not doing that because there's things on the conservative side that I don't agree with. But I have a saying that I say up here, and the tabernacle here knows it. If they give you your intellectual thought leaders, you better question it. These people that you see on the screen were given to you. They didn't put in any type of work. I know what y'all gonna say. Candace Owens been doing this for a decade. She put in no work. It's not hard to go on YouTube or click the record button on your phone and talk shit about black people for about 10 minutes. That's not hard. Any one of us in New Black Media could have done that. Number one, we wouldn't even be in New Black Media. But number two, we would have over 1 million subscribers. You got to stand on that eventually. And every time these folk say what they say about black people and then got to stand on it, they look foolish. Rob Smith sat up there for years denigrating the black community. Years. He shows up in Arizona one night in front of some white boys thinking that he was in the club, and they showed him exactly who he was. Now all of a sudden he want to rail against MAGA, and then 2 months later he's back in MAGA. Because the grift was more important than his integrity. Byron Donalds, instead of just being an honest black man and say, you know what, I kind of screwed up in college, but I am a testament to how changing your life around and making the correct decisions can get you to this point, which nobody would get mad at. You sat up there and acted like you this big bad thug. Yeah, I said that word. Lying about who you are, took your ex-wife to come outside and expose you. And now you running around like you a moral authority on civil rights and reparations. And then you show up in Atlanta with that and you get thoroughly cooked. So much so they're starting to limit your appearances on TV. And people at this point now don't even care that you're showing up unless you're getting owned. This is what we mean by when we say the black conservative is a joke. This is why people tell you, you know what? Black folks, for the most part, are conservative in a lot of ways. But what they also fail to tell you is black folks are also very balanced. Yeah, we have the Bible thumpers, but we also have people that are outside in these streets every day and they see things and they understand that society changes. And it's okay to be malleable on certain things. That doesn't make us woke. That makes us human beings. And these avatars that I put up on the screen, plus the ones that follow behind them and throw out their videos and yell Thomas Sowell every time they get into a discussion. They're the ones that are holding the black community back. Because, as I've also said on this channel, these type of black people make everybody else, including their own, feel safe and stupid. They're never going to go outside and question the status quo. And they're never going to go outside and say, you know what, let me look into this. They're going to walk around with prideful ignorance. And that's how they get harmed. So, again, it's your choice if you want to follow them. I'm not telling you not to, but I want you to understand the type of chips and the type of chess pieces that you have on the board of life. Because if you think you're going to win checkmates with these type of folk, you in for a rude awakening. And this is why people like this that you see on the screen, they've all had something happen to them that they couldn't recover from. And you're probably saying, how does that relate to Thomas Sowell? Well, before we leave, let me ask you this question. Why is it they bring on Thomas Sowell to talk about social justice, since y'all claim he's a social philosopher, but he's an economist by trade, and they haven't asked him one time about the economy in the last 4 years, since he's an advocate of Reaganomics? Let that simmer on your soul. No pun intended. But anyway, y'all, I'm going to get up out of here. You already know what to do. Share, like, and subscribe. That's right. Share, like, and subscribe, because I'm not like other YouTubers. I'm different. Take care. Stay safe. I'm out.